The first piece of information that I want you to take to heart is that you mustn't allow fear to be your God. What I mean by that is we think of God as all powerful. So often, fear becomes all powerful in our lives. Fear is a shapeshifter, it takes on many appearances. And if we're not being wise, we sometimes have trouble identifying it. And so we yield and succumb to fear. We are being ruled by fear. For example, can you imagine that some people actually fear being successful? Sometimes they start seeing things going in the right direction, then all of a sudden they stop doing it. Some women fear being in a good relationship. They meet a good man and they front on him. They don't treat him the right way or they ghost him. Yet they say they want a good man. They fear success sometimes. And sometimes we fear things that are easy to fear, like getting into a fight or having a confrontation. And when I say fear becomes your God, it means that you are responding to fear. You're allowing fear to control you rather than identifying it, acknowledging, hey, this is bothering me. This is causing me a little bit of anxiety. I'm going to confront it and deal with it. Don't allow fear to be your God. You're not supposed to necessarily stand up to God, but you should surely stand up to fear, which is why fear is not a God. If you are responding to fear as a God, that means that your life will be of little meaning. You will be average because the average person is ruled by fear. That's why they go to a job that they hate. That's why they're scared to take a risk. They're scared to build a company. They're scared to learn about product-based business. They're scared to go talk to that beautiful woman. Fear is all they know. They're like an animal reacting to fear, not a rational man making a decision on how he lives. They're not proactive, they're reactive, constantly running from opportunity, never fighting for a better life. So don't allow fear to be your God. Fear roots from irrationality and it drives irrational behavior. Understanding and fighting fear roots from rationality, from logic, from practice, because a human being by nature is a fearful little animal. You should be greater than that. You should strive more to be like God than to be human or to be lower than that as an animal. Further, in addition to strengthening the mind, putting the mind through the necessary disciplines, you must also do that to the body. So the mind and the body must work in parallel, each strengthening the other. And you should understand that one of the biggest challenges with us, especially in the West, is that we are too nice to ourselves. We show ourselves too much mercy, which makes you unready for challenge. You see, the reality, especially as a male, is that you are designed for warfare. Consider the fact that you're significantly larger than the female animal. So as a male human animal, you are designed for warfare, but do you ever put yourself to the test? Especially for those who have not engaged in the combat sports. Do you put your mind to the test? Do you put your body to the test? How many times have you sweated and had that feeling of exhaustion that made you think you might throw up? You ever run until you thought you were going to shit on yourself? Sounds disgusting, but something you might want to try to experience one time in life. The reason that I say you must put yourself to the test is because if you do not challenge yourself, if you give yourself too much mercy, when a real challenge shows up, you won't be ready for it. You'll fall apart. But if you've been challenging yourself all along, when a challenge shows up, you'll be saying to yourself, I do this. This is what I do. You see, it's the difference between getting into a bar fight when you're a random dumb fuck and getting into a bar fight when you are a trained fighter and you've been fighting all week for the last 52 weeks. And so this bar fight, you're thinking, okay, buddy, if this is what you want, I don't think you want these problems. But if you feel like you need these hands, oh, you could get them because I do this. In fact, I was just doing this earlier today. I'm already stretched out and loose. Let's get it. There's a big difference in that kind of a fight. You already know what the outcome is before you begin. And that is how life should be. But the challenge is that we like to sleep on soft pillows in comfortable beds. And you do that to yourself. So what I'm telling you is that if you know yourself, what's happening around you is actually of very little consequence. If you know yourself, what happens around you is of very little consequence. What I mean by that is if you're certain of what's inside of you, You don't have to be fearful about what's outside of you. You don't have to be fearful of other men. You don't have to be scared to talk to a beautiful woman because you know who you are, you know what your value is, and you know that you can deliver the goods. One of the saints respectfully asked Jabrizi and I, he said, "How is it that you feel so comfortable around all of these beautiful women?" And indeed, we were in a room with 13 women. How do you feel comfortable? How do you control that room? How do you present yourself the same way you presented yourself when there were only two women? Practice, certainty of who you are, having proven who you are, most importantly to yourself, but also to the world, to others. You see, there's an individual who tried to make a video exposing the saint and the sinner. And please don't even check on it because we don't want to give them any life or any airtime, for they are wicked in nature. They even turned off the comments on their video because they knew they were being dishonest. They were literally telling lies, and you could easily just post a link to articles. Marquett was in Forbes magazine. Marquett received a award from Johns Hopkins as a distinguished alumni. Marquette received this award. Marquette, here's a picture of Marquette with this mayor, this presidential candidate, this president, this governor. You know, they were lying, so they turned off the comments. The reason I mention that is because me knowing who I am, I've already proven who I am to myself, number one, and also to the outside world. Everything I say I am is verifiable. When you have that level of certainty on who you are, no one can shake you. When you say you're the big homie and it's a fact, people just got to take that. Huh? So when you know who you are on the inside, what happens outside matters a lot less, which is why I don't drink. I never feel tempted to drink around those who do. I never feel peer pressure because when I look at most people, I know they are not my peers because the reality is that lions don't hang out with hyenas. So what they drink is not what I drink. They drink alcohol. I drink water to sustain life. I might drink a vitamin infused elixir to allow me to perform better, but I'm not going to drink something that is a known poison, something that causes alcohol poisoning when overconsumed. Another thing you must be conscious of is that sometimes you fail to see and acknowledge your blessings. Last night at dinner, one of the saints said to me, "Marquette, I have this young lady who just keeps contacting me and contacting me. What am I to do with her?" I first asked him, "Well, what is her value? You know, if she doesn't offer value, then, kick her to the curb. But if she does offer value, then there may be some growth here. There's an opportunity. You must not overlook your blessings," which is to say that there are some women who would ignore you and forget about you. This woman has you constantly on her mind. You can do something with that. You know, a Pia tell you, "Give her here. I can do something with it." You heard me. She's an attentive woman. That is a good quality. And all she's coming to you for is guidance, which is what a man is for. So you must appreciate that. Mr. Josephs writes, "Peace to the saints. I've recently landed my first job in tech. Congratulations. That is the best field to be in. What do you think is the best way to navigate in order to secure the bag?" In as much as we are possible, let us not speak in colloquialism so that we are clear. So when you say what is the best way to navigate in order to earn more money, my assumption is that you're trying to climb up the hierarchy in that corporation. So I would first identify the job title that you find to be most exciting and earns well. And then I would start making friends with that person as well as your superiors and make sure that I add the extra time it takes, which is networking, going to after hours experiences and putting in the extra work and behaving at that company like you own it, which is to say, always thinking about how you can drive profit and also make sure that your name is known as the one who is doing it. Hascom writes, "Peace, Marquette. What's up with women who constantly speak of yearning for love and relationships, but are hyper promiscuous and cunning?" Oh, you know what? So many of them are promiscuous and all of them are cunning. The sad reality is to listen to the words that come out of a woman's mouth. If you took them seriously, you would find yourself in great confusion, for they are often contradicting themselves. As you become more wise, you become more taciturn and you tend to respond to women, if at all, very briefly, for you find out that you're not interacting with a rational being. So to give rational words, logic, and explanations is not going to move the needle. Mostly you have to just take action. But this is a type of woman you're describing, a very common type. He writes, "I know girls who basically do porn asking for square relationships." It is funny because what you're experiencing is the delusion of the average person in the society, not only the female, but also the male. You have a lot of people who follow the guy who used to sell perfume and they call themselves high value men, but they're not high value men. They're not high value in the sense of they earn well. They're not high value in the sense of athleticism, in the sense of physique, good looks, or anything like that. It's delusion. It's very common in our society. I say that to say, when you look at these women, you have to understand what they are and behave accordingly. You don't have to verbally chastise them, but behave accordingly. I'm dealing with quite a number of these types myself as we speak. Andy writes, thank you for getting online earlier. I live in Germany and can't watch you live otherwise. Well, it is always an honor for me to get any sort of compliment, especially such as that, and especially around the world, because we are building a global movement. And I do have a very busy life, but anytime I'm able to hop on, you'll see me here. Thank you for that compliment, and I do take it to heart. EJT writes, how many hours a week do you spend with women, gaming, dating, intercourse? I don't know. I've actually never thought about that. I usually schedule women around my needs and whims. So I never prioritize them. They're always second to a dollar. You dig? So when I wake up, I ask myself, what's the quickest way to get to a dollar? And then I plan my day around that. And then if women need to come into play, whether to support me in getting after a dollar or to support me in relaxing or keeping me company or entertaining me, then I'll bring them into the mix. Otherwise, they can sit on the bench. Curse right. Finally caught alive. You too be on that. BS. Peace to the saints. We lead, they watch. Indeed. Good to see you, Curtis. Curtis came to the last conference. It was truly a pleasure. We did some turning up. We did some game spitting. You dig? There was some bad little breezes we had caught slipping in Aria, my man. We got to do it again. Jabrizi comes in, writes, get great setup. Truly appreciate it. It's a lot of off scene, actually, that I still haven't set up. I've just been so busy. I appreciate that. Dewan writes, slept on my inversion table last night. No bed, no pillows for me, Marquette. I can dig it. Dewan comes right back with tuition again. Emil writes, get the likes up, right? I mean, come on now. Who talk it like I talk it? And I'm the only one that walk it. They might even be able to emulate the talk after listening, but they damn sure can't walk it. Haven writes, I'm down for that 3-mile run. Once I'm back in St. City, we can get that mission up. Oh, let's get it. High elevation. Rob writes, backpack briefcase is super player. Keep a copy of the black box in it while on the go. And for those of you who haven't got the backpack briefcase, you're messing up. But I'm going to give you a chance to get your life together. There's a link in the description. It's fine leather. It's a beautiful piece that I guarantee women will compliment on. Men alike. You will not go a day wearing that piece and not get a compliment. I promise you. People will say, hey, where'd you get that? He writes, still been at the sweet science since a month ago. Good to hear. The sass and rope and hand wraps are truly remarkable, especially those hand wraps, because they are indeed the longest in the world. And that jump rope is a gem in a bag. Always keep mine with me. Sean writes, what are some good job titles to pursue in tech? Well, I think it depends on what your skill set is, because that's going to really define what you can realistically apply to. But I would recommend that you get in a technical role in cybersecurity. For cybercrime will be increasingly an area of trouble, especially as people are able to be anonymous, and people with wealth and power will want to track down hackers, cyber criminals, or people who troll them anonymously. So it'll be an area of great opportunity. Suleiman writes, peace of the saints. Thank you for the knowledge. It is my pleasure. Fabian, censored tuition. Thank you, sir. Okay. Shout out to Jason Paul. Actually, just copped a custom pair of shoes on mdblabel.com. Shout out to Darren, who's a member. It's officially one of the Saints. And Aaron has just purchased the Sasson conference footage. I highly recommend, if you've not had a chance to go to the conference and you're considering it, go ahead and grab that footage. And more importantly, if you want education on how to build a product-based business, also how to understand yourself and how you should be developing as a male into a man, and how you should be leading your female into being a good mother or wife or girlfriend or spouse, definitely check out that footage. Kevin, right, sending tuition, needed this motivation piece of the saints. Oh, we all need motivation. And that's something we have to remember, is that you always have to fill that tank up. It's just like an automobile. Once you run it out, you got to put something back in it. And if you follow me on Instagram.com/Marquett Devon, MarquettDavon, absolutely check out that image I have, which is called Man's Happiness Machine. And it talks about starting from a position of rest, then producing, which is to say working towards your goal, and then achieving, and then celebrating. You must have that whole cycle. And then you start again with rest, meaning that you must work from a position of rest. Baller alert. Brahmer comes through with the big boss ballers. The man living good. He writes, Romer, you see me, he writes, thanks for the wisdom. I've had much success since I started watching your lectures. I appreciate you sharing that with everyone. And I'm happy to hear that you have been winning and applying them to my life over the last year. Stay blessed. We'll join annual membership through Patreon in due time. That's big boss status. You dig? And that's also smart because the prices change. When you join annually, you get to lock in a rate. So that's thinking intelligently in terms of finances. And I definitely promote that. Carrying on. Back to the lecture. We are in an era where people wear exercise clothes without exercising. It's called athleisure. I'm a capitalist, and I definitely believe in profit. But sometimes we don't realize when we are being profited from and almost made fun of. Athleisure, that's an oxymoron. It comes from the term athlete or athletic for athletic wear. Leisure, meaning to relax, to take time off, to not do anything. So how is it you have athletic leisure wear? It's basically slouchy clothes for fat women who don't want to do anything, for people who want to look like they're about it when they're not really about it, which is to communicate to you that we are in an era of unlimited phoniness. You have so many people wearing designer and it's fake. They want to look wealthy without being wealthy. We have charlatans on the internet who tell you to fake it until you make it, which almost rarely works, which they're essentially telling you to lie. What is fake it till you make it other than saying lie? Now consider, does that actually work? If I were to say, hey, Marquette, I want to be a boxer. I say, oh, okay, fake it till you make it. Go get a professional boxing contract, sign that contract. Don't do any boxing training. Don't fight any amateur boxing matches. Become a professional. Go ahead and get into a professional fight. Fake it till you make it. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to lose. You might even get hurt. So people are telling you to lie. And somehow you take the advice of those who tell you to lie as though they themselves are not liars. I'm here to bring you truth. I'm here to give you something that you might not want, but you absolutely need, the truth. I say that to say, don't fool yourself. On my Instagram, there is a image. It's called Pyramids of Truth. If you're a member, you're very fortunate because I actually explained the Pyramids of Truth image, which is to say that the person you have to tell the truth to, number one, is yourself. You can never get beyond your addictions without admitting to your addictions. You can never understand yourself until you look in the mirror and you acknowledge who you really are, not who you're dreaming of being, not who you used to be 5 years ago, but who you are today. That's the only way that you can move forward, is by starting from reality. Don't wear gym clothes unless you're going to the gym. And realize that a man is in control. You can't control everything, but you need not control everything, but you can control all of the important things, which is to say that even in challenging times, there are great opportunities. Challenging times present opportunities for strong minds. So many great people came out of challenge. World War II, Winston Churchill. Even Adolf Hitler came out of a challenging time. The German economy was depressed. People were in tremendous poverty. They were looking for a leader. And he rose up, took the opportunity, which is to say, when it's all bad, it's not even all bad. When it's all good, enjoy. And when it's all bad, it's still not all bad. A hustler can hustle as long as you keep your mind in hustle mania. As long as you choose not to live where other people live mentally, but to live in your own world where it's always beautiful, where there's always opportunity, which is to say, no, I don't live in America. I live in the United States of Marquettica. I live in Marquettifornia, Marquettadelphia. And in Marquettadelphia, there's just truth and beauty and wealth all over the place. That's where I keep my mind. I encourage you to do the same, which is to say that you don't have to accept what the world has presented you. When you see a challenge, if you're a real hustler, you should interpret the opportunity. Know that as a man, there is a difference between you and woman and child. And it's a critical difference, which is to say that when there's a challenge, woman and child may cry, they may fall apart, they may become irrational and unproductive, whereas man should take on calmness, especially in the fires of war. For you have been there before and you know what to do. And that is why woman seeks man, so that she doesn't have to be calm and unbothered by war, so that she can behave as a woman. She can behave in her feminine nature and let you stand up to that fire because you won't be burned by it, which is to say, you must work on your presence of mind and your toughness.